Anya. Okay, we go.
Hello everyone. Welcome to showcase for iteration number 30. So this was a very happening iteration for us. In this iteration, we have mostly completed 18 points, but right now in Mingle it's shown as 21 because we have postponed our showcase a bit delay because of elections in Delhi. So one story got completed yesterday, which we'll be covering in our next iteration. As part of this iteration, the major achievement that we had was we completed the contract and OpenLMIS integration. We have completed all the APIs and deployed all the APIs to a test environment for Dimagi for testing. We have also updated all the documentation in GitHub, which can act as a reference document for Dimagi folks. And we were also involved in regular troubleshooting and debugging with Corey and his developers. Another feature that we considered in this iteration was escape products in regular and emergency RNR. So before that, all products were mandatory in regular and emergency RNR. Now we have played this feature as per which a user can simply escape some of the products which he doesn't want to order. Apart from that, with this escaping in place, there was some modification required in regular RNR calculation. So we have normalized our normalized consumption and average monthly consumption as part of this iteration. Apart from that, as we showcased in our previous iterations, we have developed the version 1 of emergency requisitions. In this iteration, we have completed the final version of emergency requisitions, which include all the calculations and manage the approved quantity. So with this iteration, emergency RNR flow is also complete. There were discussions with Ron about budget feature analyzed. So the whole budget feature is now analyzed and we have started development, and most probably we'll be showcasing a few stories in our next iteration. Another feedback apart from escape product was related to escape period. So currently we have a validation that an RNR can be initiated only if all past RNRs are authorized. With this feature, a user can simply escape a period or can escape a RNR in order to move to the next period. So there are still discussions going on this feature. These were some of the functional highlights. Apart from that, we had some tech tasks that we had done. First one is Jasmine test for UI directives, which enhance our functional test coverage. Second one is HTTP caching for static resources. It was implemented to immensely decrease load times, which have made our application browsing very fast. And the third one was Karma Spectre configured to run JavaScript tests in multiple browsers. So this was the highlights overview of the previous iteration. Now let's start with stories. So first of all, as I mentioned, we have completed our contract integration. So I'll be covering all the contract stories. So just to give the brief overview of this integration. So a CHW will be submitting a SMS to contract system, and they will be forwarding that SMS, which have stock content information to OpenLMIS. And OpenLMIS will be processing that stock content in order to come up with normalized consumption, calculated order quantity, and all other fields. The major challenge that we faced in contract integration was that there were a lot of fields that need to be calculated with one just variable. But with excellent mathematical skills of Ron and his help, we finally were able to figure out the calculations in order to normalize the replenishment process. So first I'll start with the template configuration management. As we all know, in OpenLMIS, we have a master template for each program, and all the requisitioning process are governed by master template. So the same applies for contract. If a contract is submitting an RNR for a particular program, all the validations will be governed by master template in OpenLMIS. So I'll just configure one master template. I'll be taking malaria as an example. So the ideal configuration that would be required for contract, as we all know, that stock content should be user input because the CHW will be reporting that stock content information. And apart from this, rest of the quantities like consumed quantity, they will be calculated. So first of all, I'll show some of the error cases. Like if I make stock content as calculated and consumed quantity, let's say user input, save the configuration. I'll be using Postman emulator in order to hit these APIs. So as you can see, this is the submit requisition API, and I have already created one virtual facility, which is V10, and I've already entered the user which have permissions to create a requisition, and I'm using malaria in order to create a requisition. Now, as previously I have shown, I have configured stock and hand information as calculated, and here it's shown as a user is reporting something, and consumed quantity was a user input, but here I am not reporting consumed quantity. So if I click on send, it shows me RNR has errors, please correct them to proceed. So such type of validations all will be governed from master template. It depends on how admin has set up the master template for the program. Now I'll make the appropriate setting for the template, making consumed quantity as calculated and stock on as user input. This will be the regular behavior for contract because they will be just reporting stock on information via their SMS. Okay. Yeah. Apart from that, some API level validations, like if I make stock on hand as null, it will show me error. RNR has errors, please correct them to proceed. Now I'll give a proper stock in hand value, which is 5. This product P151, it belongs to malaria program. It's a valid product. All other validations related to program and recipes we have already showcased in our previous iterations. So as you can see, requisition 15 ID is a random requisition ID that is generated from database. It has been returned to contract. If I go to database, yeah. So as you can see, the requisition has been created with ID 15, and I will take you through some of the quantities that we are internally capturing. So as this is the first RNR for a program, as per the rules and our development plan, the beginning balance will become equal to stock on hand information, as the CHW is expected to report his stock on hand information in order to continue his replenishment process. But for the first RNR, we are managing it by making equal to stock on hand. So as you can see, beginning balance equal to 5, which is also the stock on hand information. Apart from that, as I have configured the master template, dispensed quantity is a calculated quantity. The formula will be beginning balance plus received quantity minus stock on hand information. So beginning balance is 5, received quantity is 0 because it is the first RNR and no POD or the proof of delivery has been submitted, and stock on hand is 5. So 5 minus 5, 0. So this is the first RNR that I create. Now I go back here. One more validation that our master template handles is that if the calculation becomes negative, if our arithmetic calculation is violated. So if I make stock on hand as 10, so this is the second RNR that I'm creating, and as we all know, for our second RNR, the beginning balance will be equal to stock on hand information of previous RNR, which was 10. So 5 minus 10, it will make consumed quantity as negative. So if I try to submit this, it will show me RNR has errors, please correct them to proceed. But if I give a value less than 5, let's say 4, send, requisition ID 17 has been created. I'll just take you through. Yeah, this is the RNR ID 17. And as I mentioned, beginning balance will always be equal to stock on hand information of previous RNR, which is RNR 15, whose stock on hand was 5. Therefore, beginning balance has become 5 for this RNR. Quantity received again as 0 because I haven't submitted any received quantity for my previous RNR, so it is 0. Quantity dispensed as per the formula 5 minus 4, it is 1. So this is how our replenishment flow will work for contract. Now, in order to explain the received quantity, I'll just submit a proof of delivery for one of the RNR. So I'll use RNR ID 17. Going back, using the POD API, making RNR ID or order ID as 17. for the same product P151. So as you know that RNR is in the authorized state, so I first need to approve that RNR. So I'll use the API to approve it, which is this one. Product is P151, quantity approved I'm making as 20, and submit. RNR ID is incorrect here, this is 8, I'll make it 17. RNR approved successfully. With this API, I can also showcase one of the minor feedback that we've received. We have added approver name in our approved equation API, so that any system which is using this approved equation API, they would have to mandatorily pass a name so that we can pull audits from OpenLMIS which user has approved a particular RNR. So this is the approver name field in the approved equation API. Now this equation 17 has been approved. I'll just convert it to order first. Log out as admin. And now log in as LLU in charge, who is having convert to order right for this warehouse. Going to convert to order screen. So this is the RNR that we have made for malaria. Select, convert to order. Yeah. So till now, if you recall our this contract flow, so we have created one requisition for V10. We have authorized it by the same API. We have approved that requisition, and now we have manually converted that requisition to order. Now, once order has been released, there is a feature which will be coming in future. We'll be creating a screen for which shipment details can be updated for this particular order. Now this order ID is ready to receive the received quantity details. So when a CHW finally receives his delivery, he can use our confirm delivery API, which is this one. I'll just open the confirm delivery API. Order ID is 17. Product is P151 and quantity received is 9. So the message comes POD updated successfully. So this will end our complete end-to-end contract flow. In order to just explain the received quantity behavior in a submit requisition API, I'll create a new requisition. Okay. Now I'm given, let's say, stock and hand as 2. Creating it. It returns me the requisition ID 18. Going back to the database. If I go to requisition number 18, yeah. So as you can see, stock and information is coming here as I reported 2. Beginning balance is the stock and information from previous RNR, which was 4. And if you see quantity received, so in our previous cases, we were receiving quantity received as 0 because we haven't received any confirmation request of the delivery. Now, just before I have submitted a confirm delivery request with received quantity as 9, so the next RNR will take the received quantity as what has been submitted in the proof of delivery request. So this covers the complete end-to-end flow for contract. Apart from this, our contract APIs are very generic. They can also be used to report other fields. Like as I have only showcased for stock on hand information, these API can be used to report beginning balance, received quantity, losses adjustments, requested quantity, and explanation also. Apart from that, one more flexibility that is we have implemented in this API. This API can also be used to create requisitions for our regular brick and mortar facilities. This use case might come in future where OpenLMIS or any other system can use this particular API to create requisitions for our parent or regular OpenLMIS facilities. In that case, we'll be following our regular UI-based validation. So this is all about contract flow. In order to enhance our contract structure, now the user which I'm using in authenticating the API is a contract 1 user. which will be a system. He would not be a Flash and Flood user. So we have implemented one security check here. If this user try to log in our application, so if I try to log in as contract1 and the valid password, it will not allow me to log in. The reason behind this, we have introduced a check in our admin screen. I'll just show that. Yeah. If I go to users, search for our contract user, which is COMT. Yeah. Here you can notice this flag, which says restrict login. So admin can handle this flag. Like if it's a external system integrated with OpenLMIS, then they can intentionally make this flag as yes. So what does mean by yes means the user can still use his rights and permissions for using all the OpenLMIS APIs, but he won't be allowed to log in our browser applications. So this was the additional security check that we have implemented. So moving next, as part of contract, as we have showcased earlier, we have done a propagation story in which we were propagating some of the attributes from parent to all of its virtual facilities. During that, we faced an issue. Our upload message got screwed due to negative number because there were multiple records updating in database, because one parent can resemble to any number of virtual facilities. So if via upload, one parent facility is uploaded or updated, it was making changes in many virtual facilities. So we have fixed our upload message. I'll just show that. If I select facilities, and this is the CSV file I'm using, which is a facility CSV file. So the file generally contains a F10 facility, which has a child also. So although the file contains only one record, but there are multiple records which are being updated in database. So if I click on upload, you can see the error message now saying number of record processed 2. Initially, we were facing a problem like the number of records updated were coming as negative. So we fixed that issue also. Moving to next, as part of our contract integration testing, we received a small feedback that in our requisition details API, there was no indication of whether a product has been skipped or not. So we have introduced an additional attribute in our requisition details API, which will let the system know which products are being ordered and which have been skipped. So I'll just use that requisition details API. That's a GET request. ID I'll use, let me just create a requisition for another program. Yeah, so I'm creating a requisition from Essential Max, which are having multiple products. Malaria is having only one product, that's why I'm creating for Essential Medicine. And a valid product is, let's say, P70, which is a valid product in Essential Medicine. So requisition ID 19 has been created. Now if I use my requisition details API, which is a GET request. Yeah, so it gives me the complete details of that requisition, and you can notice one additional attribute here, which says skipped false or true. So we have ordered only one product, which is P74. That's why skipped the Boolean flag is false. And for another products like P75 and P80, this skip Boolean flag is true. This will clearly indicate the system whether which product has been ordered and which were skipped. Moving to next, so this was all about contract. Now I'm moving further to our skip product feature. So in previous showcases, we have mentioned how skip product feature will work. In this iteration, we have enhanced our view RNR screen. So if I log out, log in as super user who is having most of the rights. I create a requisition, let's say for essential medicines which are having multiple products. Yeah. So I skip all the products except one, which is P74. There's only one page in this RMR. Submit it. Oh, there are regimens, I think configured here. Oh, data needs to be filled for the unscripted one. So this RNR is submitted, authorized. Now if I go to view RNR screen, select a facility as F10 for which I have created a requisition. Yeah. So as we can see, we have added one additional column in our view RNR screen, which will indicate user that which product has been ordered and which one has been skipped. We have also played a story about print, like what will happen if user takes the print of the form. If I go to create requisitions, let's say essential math, or I select malaria. I skip one product, save that. Taking this time to load. So with this print story, we have add one additional column in our print format of RNR, where we placed a tick if the GIF image has been uploaded in the system, and if the image is not present, then it will come as written, which will say skipped. So currently in our UAT environment, we don't have that tick image uploaded. That's why it's written here skipped. But once we upload that image, all the skipped products will be marked as tick, and all the unskipped products will be clearly highlighted in the print format of RNR also. So this was about skip product feature. With this, our skip product feature also comes to completion. Now I'll move next to emergency RNR. As I mentioned in the highlights, we have already developed the version 1 of emergency RNR in our previous iteration. As part of this iteration, we have developed the version 2, which includes the calculation for emergency requisition, like the normalized consumption, ANC, and calculated order quantity. And apart from that, we have also managed the approved quantity for these emergency requisitions. So in order to just explain a bit about emergency RNR calculation, I'll just show you the logic that we have come with the help of Ron. Yeah. So as you can see here, this is the formula we are using for emergency requisition, which is almost same as regular one, where C is the consumed quantity and D is the number of days from period start date till current date, because for emergency RNR, the reporting period will always be from the period start date till current date. F is the number of new patients, and G is the number of doses per dispensing unit. We all are familiar with this formula because it's been used since last in our regular RNR calculation. In this version of emergency RNR, we have implemented this formula in case of emergency RNR also. For ANC calculation, we are doing the same thing. We are taking average of previous normalized consumption, which will be depending on value of M, which is number of months in a period. So I'll just try to calculate these values. If I go to create requisition, select a program, let's say malaria, and now type as emergency. I entered a quantity as 1, stock and hand as 1. And the consumed, the template has been configured in such a way that beginning balance is hidden. I just need to make the template configuration proper. Consumed quantity I'm making as user input. Stock on hand as calculated. Save. Now if I create a equation for F10, selecting essential mass, emergency R&R, proceed. Yeah. So I entered beginning balance as the total comes out to be 2, and I increase the beginning balance a bit by 10. Let's say consumed quantity is 5. So as you can see, as per our formula, currently D, which is the number of days in a period, it has been considered as per the period setup for this equation group. And as per version 1 of emergency equation, we were not displaying any value, or we were not doing any calculation for emergency R&R. Now we are performing all the calculations. So this will give user a reference to what quantities need to be approved for this emergency R&R by looking to these calculated order quantities. So this was emergency R&R calculation. Moving next, there was a feedback which we received for geographic zone upload. So currently we were not having any check that if a geographic zone is not a top level zone, then parent should be a mandatory field. So we have implemented that check in our geographic zone upload. So first I'll just show you the file that I'm using to upload. That is geographic.data.csv. So as you can see, this is the geographic zone upload. I'll just zoom it a bit. I think the zoom option is not available here. Yeah. So basically, we have implemented a check that if a geographic zone is not a top level zone, then a parent should be mandatory, and the parent should always be the higher level of that geographic zone. So if a geographic zone, let's say the hierarchy is the country, state, province, and district, and if a user is uploading a district, so the parent should always be either country or state. So this check we have implemented in our upload module. In other cases, we'll be reflecting an error which will say invalid hierarchy or invalid records found. So this was all about the feature. So just summarizing, we have completed our complete contract integration. We have completed our skip product feature. We have completed our version 2 of emergency R&R, which includes calculation, submission, and authorization. And as I mentioned earlier, last day we have also completed our regular R&R calculation story, but that will be included in our next showcase. That's pretty much from our side. Any questions, please forward to Ron.